Welcome to Own the Season podcast. We will talk to industry insiders along with outdoor enthusiasts to help you own your season. Now let's join hosts Art and Michelle Helen with Brad Jones.
Hello and welcome to Own the Season podcast. I'm Michelle Helen along with Art Helen and Brad Jones. And today we're going to talk about just kind of what we're doing and what other people might find that they could be doing also in what we call the quote unquote off season. You know, we don't really have much of an off season, but the focus shifts, right?
Right.
Because there's always something in season, something we can be doing to prepare and have a more successful main season, whatever that might be. You know, if you're turkey hunting, deer hunter, whatever it might be, there's always something to be doing to prep or get ready for what's next. Okay.
Yeah.
So
One thing I do at this time of year, I don't know, maybe crazy or a little dumb, but I keep all of my hunting stuff in totes and they're marked with all the seasons. And so now that I have turkey in with deer and deer in with fishing and all that stuff, I organize all my gear again. So I'm ready to go for the next year.
it all kind of gets to be a mess that you're busy in the moment and stuff doesn't get quite put away where you want it, where it should be, or where you want it to be.
I have great intentions, but I would rather be hunting than organizing.
Right.
So this is a great time to do that.
Yeah.
Now, Art, I talked to you yesterday, and you were coming back from land management, so great time for people to get out and do some scouting, right?
It is. You know, I've been out doing land management plans the last couple weeks. It's a great time to do that because, one, there's no leaves on the trees here in the Midwest right now, and there's a lot of snow in certain places. Some places don't have any snow, but, you know, a couple inches of snow, which really helps with seeing the topography of the land, the types of trees. You know, you can pick out your oak trees pretty easy because they still got the leaves and different things. So, you know, it kind of, you can get in there and really get a better view of what needs to be done, especially if you need to do, I'm not a large or a big hinge cut type of guy. There's a lot of people that love hinge cutting. Personally, I am not one of those people. I've worked with too many foresters over the years and stuff, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with hinge cutting. And there are certain places and times that I will say, yes, you need to do this. But doing TSI work or timber stand improvement with stump cuts, I believe are just as effective or more effective in creating certain habitat areas and certain things better than what you can do with certain hinge cuts. And now is the time of year to be doing that. Now is when you should be out there doing, if you're going to hinge cut, do the hinge cut. But if you're going to do your timber stand improvement, now is when you're really out there doing that. And so you have until usually that first week of April, second week of April, maybe depending on the winter, to get out and do those cuts and do what you have to do. But it's a great time to be out designing those plans and doing that. And so if you get those plans done early enough right now in the winter, it still gives you a couple months to get out on those nice days, get some exercise, you know, and cut the trees and do some of that stuff. So, yeah, right now I've just been, other than when my slave driving editor is yelling at me saying, hey.
It's editing season.
It's
always editing season. But.
Yeah, it's always editing season. But right now is the big push, you know, before we go, you know, start airing here second quarter with all new shows. So it's, hey, you know, I get the messages. I need openers and I need closers and I need tips for this and I need, so, you know, that's kind of what we're doing too in our off season. But as far as the land management, you know, right now is a great time and it gets me out of the house, you know, away from that computer or out of a tree stand because some hunting's still going, and try to get out and get some exercise, some fresh air in the winter. So it's a great time to be doing that.
Yeah.
Well, and too, like once you've figured out, you know, you can see your property better with the leaves gone. Maybe see some, you know, game trails easier if you've got some snow cover. And you've got an idea of maybe you are going to do some timber stand improvement and take down some trees. You know, what are you going to do for food plots? You know,
Right.
be reflecting on, you know, maybe you're going to create new
Yeah.
areas, or maybe you just reflect on what you had last year and what worked and what didn't, what grew for you, what didn't, and be kind of planning and, you know, ordering that seed. You know,
Yeah.
if you've got larger areas, you might want to order in bulk, and just be kind of planning ahead so that when the ground warms up and it's time to be planting your early plantings, that you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, there's like a little window, you know, you need the ground, you need the soil temperature warm enough. And you're probably also watching rain forecasts and things like that. And, you know, trying to squeeze it in amongst everything else that you're doing. So you don't want to be having to make a trip to the store to try to find the seed. And then your options may be more limited depending on where you live.
Right.
Where if you plan ahead and have all that on hand, you're going to be ready to go.
And I typically at this time of year do check my plots to see how they held up. Like if I had corn standing, if I have too much, now you got to find someone to pick it, or you're going to have volunteer corn everywhere. Or how my bulb plots held up. Was there enough forage for the deer over the winter? Things like that. And like you said, Michelle, to start thinking about your plots, and you know it's going to be soon where if you want a frost seed, that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So great time to think about that. Art, how can people get a hold of you if they have questions or if they want to have you come out and check their property?
They can, I mean, there's a couple different ways. They can obviously message me through Facebook, on my own personal page, which is Art Helen. They could probably go through our business page too, but best would be to get me on my email, which is art@arthellenoutdoors.com. Just send me an email, and you know, I get back to you with, you know, email you back or try to give you a call. A lot of times it's best to call, and you know, once you first contact me, then you know I'd get a hold of you with my cell number and stuff, so we can talk at that time.
Easier to talk it through once you've made the initial contact. Yeah,
Right.
hard to express the details and stuff just in a message.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And you and Michelle both are going to be speaking at a couple of shows coming up, trade shows, or consumer shows, I guess I should call them. Where and when are they?
Yeah, we're going to be at a few shows. So it is, you know, coming up on what we call like show season. So we're going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic, March 7th through 9th. We're going to be there at the Easton booth. Easton is a sponsor of the like Iowa Whitetail Hall of Fame, I think is what they call it. So it's the biggest of the big. I mean, the Iowa Deer Classic is a great show, and there's a lot of big deer that come in to be scored at that show. And then the area that we're going to be in is all of the deer from years past that have scored, like Boone and Crockett, Boone and Crockett and higher. Like it's just really just the biggest of the big in that area. So we're going to be out there. So come out and see us. Then we're going to be at the Ohio Open Season Sportsman's Expo in Columbus, March 14th to 16th, doing seminars both there as well as at the Wisconsin Open Season in the Wisconsin Dells, March 28th to 30th.
Yeah. And those shows are great, not only, you know, to come in and see us, but, you know, we have our own booth at these shows, and we, you know, do our seminars. We do talk some, you know, the land management. We also have product from the partners that we work with, so people can come in and see some of the new products that are coming out this year. You know, touch them, feel them, look at them, and kind of get an idea before they go out and buy it. Is this really what I want, or is it not what I want? And that's kind of what the consumer shows are. There's a lot of booths, a lot of cool things to look at. There's some good sales. closeout sales. Usually there's, some dealers at these shows, but there's also manufacturers at all these shows. So you can come in and, look at optics, or you can look at bows and crossbows and different things that are new this year and say, man, I want to look at this before I go out and buy it. And so it's just a great place to come out and visit these. And these are, the three main biggest shows. There'll be some other things here and there
In our part, in the Midwest.
right?
You know,
that
where
we'll
we're-
be doing maybe some, some other seminars, little shows, things like that. But as far as, the biggest shows and the biggest of the and the best of the best is, you're looking at these three shows, and you'll be able to find us at all these along with a lot of other people. So stop by the booth, say hi, if you're there, and
Yeah.
check it out.
Great opportunity to, for a pretty reasonable entrance fee, kids under a certain age are in free. There's usually coupons online, for the rest of us, like Military Day, Scouts Day, first time hunter safety graduates, get a day. So there's different specials for the entrance fee, but you get in, and then, all the seminars are free. So like a person, you could come and listen to like 5-6 seminars, a day. I don't know how many there are, on like Saturday, the long days. Think of all that knowledge you can gain for just that one entrance fee. And then to see all the product, like Art was saying, from the manufacturers. It's a nice combination. They're nice combinations of manufacturers who then probably aren't selling. And sometimes we've seen patrons or consumers kind of get upset by that, and they've gotten upset at our booth sometimes. But those manufacturers, they're respecting their own dealers. They can't undercut or they can't sell out from underneath their own dealers. So they're there to really explain their product, because they know who knows it better. Not the people working at your big box outdoor stores. So to explain the product, let you get it in your hands versus just seeing it on your computer screen. And then they want you to, go back to your local dealers and buy it. So you got manufacturers, you got some dealers, there with a variety of product, including their closeouts. And then you've got like some small businesses, right? Some small mom and pop, smaller, designers, manufacturers of calls, furniture, outdoor decorations,
Beef jerky sales,
always the
candy
jerky
sales,
and sausage. Always the jerky and sausage. But, a nice way to support some of those, smaller businesses too.
And some of them, like she said, some of these smaller businesses and mom and pop stuff they have a great idea. So they're bringing that great idea to the shows to actually see if it's going to go over well. So some of them, are, and I don't mean this in a bad way, some of them are gimmicky little things that they're hoping, to test the waters there. And with the consumers going to these shows, there's nobody better to test the waters than the consumer themselves. So you might find, and look at it and laugh, go, man, what's that thing over there? But it might be the next, best thing or closest thing to sliced bread, so...
it's been fun to see some of those. There's been some, like in years past, where we've seen like some young people with this product, and it's really got a lot of cool things about it, a great design, and you're like, gee, I hope you make it. This is really cool. And then to see them, a year or two later or longer, still there and like with a little bit fancier booth. Right. They've got maybe somebody doing their production. They're not just doing it in the garage. Like that's been kind of fun to see. Yeah.
And what a great place to, if you're planning your food plot, you can talk to the food plot people. They have equipment, all the seed. You typically don't get a chance to, when you go to a big box store to buy seed, you don't get to talk to the actual person that's put the blend together and explain to you why they put these seeds together. So you get that. And like I said, the food plot stuff is very interesting to see what they have.
It is, and that's, back to the seminar stuff, that's the cool thing about it is if you have a lot of questions or different things on the seminars or what they are. I mean, they have deer hunting seminars, they have turkey hunting seminars, they have food plot seminars, they have cooking seminars, so it's not just, oh, it's going to be a deer seminar or it's going to be a turkey seminar or it's going to be, they have a great mix at these. I mean, they have trapping seminars, first aid seminars, there's all kinds of different things that, what you might be looking for and say, hey, I need help with that food plot, or I need help with optics, or I need help with, there's probably some type of seminar tailored to what you want.
There's something for everyone.
Right.
Whether it's not the seminars as well as like what you find on the show floor
Right.
at the booths. There's something for everybody.
And I've done seminars for so long at these shows, trying to help people that, I've had them where some of it depends on the topic, where I've had some of these where they fit 300 people in a room or 400 people and they're packed and going out the doors. And then I've had other ones where there's one or two people there.
Well, that sounds like mine. Like,
Yeah.
I just have to say, and like Art too, I don't care if there's two people there. Like, if people want to hear, want to learn, and then that's great. I don't care if it's two people or 20 or 200. And it just becomes more of a conversation then. It's,
Right.
It's definitely not like any of us, our stuff is formal, but definitely it's more of a conversation and very informal. But, I don't do the topics like on how to shoot a giant deer or how to shoot big bucks because I haven't shot that many. So it'd be like some imposter, right? So my topics are not nearly as exciting as how to shoot a giant deer or, catch the big fish because there's fishing there too. Right. So I do typically have the smaller audiences or people are sitting in my area because they're in line to get their hunting licenses from the DNR booth across the aisle. And they found a nice comfortable chair to sit in. But there is something for everybody. And the fun thing too for us that the trade shows they're a little bit of a reunion for us because we've seen many of the same. Just pause it. Just stop it. We'll start over. And another thing about these trade shows is that for us, it's like a reunion because we've seen and gotten to know these vendors and seminar speakers, over the last 25 years. And this might be the only time and place we see them is at these trade shows. So that's always kind of fun to go around and say hi and maybe get a hug from some of these special folks in our lives. That we only see, this one time a year. Because the trade shows, I always compare it to like a circus. It's like the big top, and it feels, because everybody's setting up and it's a mess, on setup day, and there's stuff everywhere. And then, then it all got to come down, and it's the same people too so we might see the same people, a lot of the same vendors at Ohio that we, see at Wisconsin as well. So that's kind of something that makes it a little bit special for us too.
It does, and Michelle gets to see her groupies that follow her from the TV show all the time.
I don't have any of those so much. You've got some people that you've gotten to know, but we do have some folks that, some consumers, some folks that either watch the show or have come to the seminars and do make a point to stop and see us. And even some that we, stay in touch with, throughout the year and, go and have dinner with. When we're in town. So
There's no better place to go to talk about your hunting season than the Deer Classics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to hear those deer
Yeah,
stories,
and
right?
to see all the big bucks that were shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like she said, Iowa's the place to go to see that. I mean, there's some big deer killed in Ohio, some big deer killed in Wisconsin, but once you go to the Iowa Deer Classic, it's just absolutely crazy. And some of these shows, have gotten so big because there used to be a lot more shows, but there's not as many anymore. And so these have gotten so big that some of them I tell people, hey, if you really want to see everything, talk to everybody, you need 2 days.
Sure.
It's
Or definitely don't come on just Saturday
Right.
when
Right.
it's like a herd of cattle, trying to be pushed through a gate, and because you can't stop, like
Right.
the crowd pushes you along, and you can't stop or you can't hear. It's definitely not fun. So
And the earlier the better in the day, Friday nights are usually really good for people. They show up and they're busy, but it's not as bad. If they're there right away, they can start pushing through some of those shows. So
I do like the layout better at the Dell show than when it was in Madison, because it's broke up into smaller rooms, so you don't get all the congestion. Just like Michelle said, herds of cattle going up and down, up and down. There's offshoots and places that you can actually stop and talk to people.
and it seems a little quieter, like it's carpeted, because
Yeah.
it's at the hotel. It's at a hotel
Right.
instead of like cement floored, so it seems like it muffles the sound a little quieter, nicer that way too.
And that's a good show too. You can bring your family up. They can go to a water park, and you can go to the deer and turkey.
Yep, make it a thing. I mean, a lot of people drive a long ways because,
Oh, yeah.
like Art said, there's fewer shows. No, there are shows that we haven't done. Like there's a great show in Indiana. There's a newer show in Illinois, the open season one, or formerly, it's been bought a couple times. So there used to be one of those in Illinois. But there's other shows, but there aren't many, and people have to sometimes drive several hours to get to their nearest show. So yeah, it's an experience, an event, an excursion, especially if you're coming. So yeah, the Dells is a great place to come if you're traveling from afar.
it is. And also there's, at these shows, there's outfitters, that are there selling hunts. So if you have, if you're looking for that hunt, or if you're looking, to go to Africa on a hunt, or if you're looking to go out west, there's usually somebody
Canada.
there. Yep. There's usually people there selling hunts, and you get to talk to that because it's their off season too. It's usually the owner of that business or the main person selling those hunts. So you can physically sit down with that person and talk to them about that hunt and talk to them about what's going on. And instead of doing it over phone, I'm one of those guys. I'm still, I guess if you want to call it old school, but I want to be able to look at somebody when they're talking to me, because, a lot of times you can see through the BS. On a phone, you can't really see through the BS. They might be doing something completely different, whatever, but this way, you can see through the BS when you're talking to those people. And, so it makes it easier for me anyway to go, okay, yeah, they're pretty straight shooter, and I believe this, and they have the documentation there. I mean, they can show you the photos, they can show you, or give you names to call right there at the booth, where over the phone, go to the website, look at this, look at that, so, and I know on the websites, people can put a lot of things on websites that aren't. I remember I was doing a show in northern Wisconsin. This was years ago, and a guy came over to me that we've known for a long time at these shows, and he says, "Hey Art," he says, "didn't you kill that big deer down off of your place?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He says, "Well, Outfitter over here has it on the cover of his." And I said, "What?" He goes, "An Outfitter over here has this picture of your big deer and you on the cover of his outfitting business."
Like his brochure.
Yeah. And I'm like, "No, can't be me." He's like, "Yeah." So I go over there, and sure enough, it's a picture of me, and sure enough, I know this outfitter. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm thinking about, starting a new outfitting business down in your neck of the woods. And so I'm just showing people what kind of deer are from down there." I said, "Yeah, that doesn't
Kind
work.
of a gray
man.
area.
Yeah.
Like wasn't quite saying it was not, yeah.
I said, that doesn't work, man." I
These
said,
could potentially be shot in southern Wisconsin.
right.
Like
The property that you're looking at is, 4 miles or 5 miles from my property. And I understand what you're saying, but dude, you need to talk to me first. So, not everything is what it seems.
Your
So-
chances of speak to someone face to face is going to be a little better.
Yep, and that's the nice thing is then you can ask them and see their knee-jerk reactions and be straight up with them right there face to face.
Well, and I like, one thing we've really come to enjoy is, going salmon fishing, out on Lake Michigan. And we met those folks at a trade show, it was kind of a lull in activity on the show. And Art said, "Hey, why don't you, walk around?" And so I was doing a walk around, and he said, you like to eat salmon. We like fishing. Like, why don't we do this? And, so walked around and met, the different captains. Then it's the different captains of their boats, and knew who I didn't want to go with. Too, you meet some and you're like, yep, nope, I'm not going to book with you. And then, that's where I met Brian. And now we've been going out with Brian and Misty for years, 6 years, maybe. I don't know. So a great opportunity to learn about and maybe, think about trying something new. So yeah, trade shows coming up. That's one thing we're doing. We got a snow goose hunt squeezed in there.
Yeah.
We're going from a trade show to a snow goose hunt to another trade show. Something else that we started doing. I don't even know how the heck we got going doing that. Oh yeah, our good friend Mark LaBarbera got us hooked up on our first snow goose hunt, and now that's become an annual thing. Kind of something to do in our quote off season.
And our duck hunts too. That was the other thing is I was never a waterfowl hunter. And now I wish I never would have started.
It's fun. I can't hit where I gotta practice more. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's an
hit anything.
absolute blast, but for me, it's the best thing is now we've found a very good outfitter who has turned into a very good friend. And Eric, he's a super good guy. Works.
And kind of local for us too.
Right.
When he's not working. I mean, he's close to lives an hour away, 45 minutes.
And didn't even know he was local. Didn't even know this guy until we got hooked up with Mark. And now for me, I have found out what it costs for these waterfowl guys and decoys and boats and all. And I got to tell you, if there's waterfowlers listening to this, you guys are nuts, man. I mean,
it's and for people like us who like just want to do it, once a year, maybe duck hunt twice a year, like way cheap. Like you can't afford to have all your own stuff. No. The cost of those spreads, much less getting into stuff like your boats or your pits. Right. It's way more affordable to book with an outfitter.
Exactly.
For the waterfowl hunts. So that's something else we got going on.
Yep.
Game processing.
Right.
I spent all day yesterday canning venison. So Art was he did a late season hunt in Illinois, and my season's still open here too, but did come home with some deer meat. So spent yesterday canning that up, just get it done, not wanting to, it was frozen solid. So we had to thaw it out anyways before I could do anything with it. It was brought home in quarters. So canned that up, so that's something else people might be doing. Like even if you're not, bringing home game right now, maybe earlier in the fall, if you were busier and had a lot more going on, you might have had to, put some game meat, just away and freeze it in big chunks or whatever. Sure. So can take that out and finish up processing.
Yep, that's what I would typically do. Freeze all my venison in the fall and then make sausage and hot sticks and jerky and all that stuff. At this time, it's a lot cooler outside, so you're not out there in the heat of the summer or whatever doing it. So
sometimes you just got to get it put away because
right.
it's going to spoil.
Yeah.
Or you're too busy or going from one thing to another, or maybe you don't process it, butcher it yourself, and you take it to the locker plant, and they have it just in a big old hunk, and you put it away till later. I almost made some jerky. I was close because some of this when I started cutting it was still half frozen, and it was like, ooh, this would be perfect for doing like really thin slices.
Right.
But I cut my thumb on the first night and tried to slice my thumb off. So bandaged that up, got the bleeding to stop, and thought I just kind of better rest so it doesn't like break open,
Right.
again. So I put myself at, like a evening behind, and just kind of ran out of time and energy to like try something. Because for me, that would be new, like doing the jerky ourselves. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I'll just save that for next year. Stick with what I know.
And there's several different ways you can do that. Some of it, use the jerky gun, so you're using ground, and then you put it in a dehydrator or the strips too. So
Yeah. So that's what I did. Game processing, something else we're kind of doing in this off season time of year.
Yeah, thankfully there's not a lot of snow, because the other thing I'm doing when there's a lot of snow is plowing.
Yeah.
And that's which is good, because it's kind of giving me time right now to get a bunch of the editing and my land management plans and all that stuff done right now, instead of sitting in a plow truck and what I feel is wasting a lot of time. But it's it's got to be done. And
right.
No, it's not the non-fun stuff.
yeah,
Right.
the non-fun stuff.
Yeah. I know one other thing, we're trapping, or you're probably going to get back to doing some trapping. But the other thing that's kind of new for us is we're going to go to like a fur handling workshop. So, something new for us to learn more about. But, just like along with the seminars at the trade shows, maybe that's something, whatever it is that you're wanting to up your game in and learn more about, maybe this is the time to be seeking out workshops, seminars, YouTube videos on things that, you're wanting to improve upon, while you're, sitting around in the winter time, whatever that might be. This was an opportunity that presented itself for us.
What are you chuckling at?
I was going to say something pretty inappropriate, but I figured my wife about the fur handling stuff, but I figured she'd get a little upset about it.
Yeah, this is
so
a family show.
It is.
I've been researching, trying to find a hunt for this fall. I want to do something different, something I haven't done before, thinking about antelope maybe. Would like to try elk, but I'm not physically in shape for that. So,
And that's the other thing in the off season right now is, and I've used every excuse under the sun over the last couple of years. First it was, when I was in the accident and broke my back, and then, the cancer stuff and this and that. And so you use that stuff as excuses because they're easy excuses. I mean, I shouldn't say cancer's not really an easy excuse.
Legitimate,
they're
kind of
legitimate excuses.
For a time.
Right, for a time period. But to look at them and say, this is why I'm not getting in shape, and this is why, and some of the meds that I've been on aren't helping, and I've talked to my doctor about that to try to switch some of those up. But it's off season, and it's time to actually look at it and look at my health and say, all right, it's time to get back in shape, because I want to do those things. I want to get back to elk hunting. I used to guide elk hunters and I loved elk hunting. I need to get back to that. And being 265, 270 pounds right now, I tell you what, life at 225 pounds, 230 is a lot easier. You're 40 pounds lighter, and life is just easier.
Yeah, so maybe like time to like prioritize yourself a
Right.
little bit, and instead of just thinking about getting in shape for that one event or that one hunt, like just being in shape all the time, and so that it's not this like cyclical, like letting yourself go. And I'm just speaking, it's not just you,
Right.
but it's easy to kind of like get ready for this one thing and then like fall apart in between. But just kind of being in this constant state of readiness, because you never know when you might have an opportunity, and you'd hate to have to pass at an opportunity. But also, like, we've got 2 daughters that live out west in mountainous regions, and doing some fun stuff outdoors and wanting to be able to do more and enjoy the outdoors and do those things with them
Right.
as well.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's certain things in this off season that, you could make that a non-off season thing and make that continually.
Yeah. Kickstart it now, maybe.
yeah.
We could kickstart it.
And so there's, but there's a ton of different things, as I said, that you look at in the so-called off season. For me, it's a great time to be doing a lot of my photography work, because I also do a lot of photography work. So to travel to different places, as it's a downtime from hunting, it's actually kind of a upswing in wildlife photography time of year.
Because birding.
Oh,
yeah.
boy. Yes.
Speaking of that, did you see the white owl that was it
The
Mount
snowies?
Horeb?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the snowies.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's if you know me or you've heard of, like I'm a pretty passionate birder,
Geek.
like obsessed bird nerd, admittedly bird nerd. And so I have not been doing much birding lately. I mean, we've just been too busy, so not doing a lot. But we will, like, when we can here in the off season, we have done some traveling across the state into even Minnesota. Especially going north, because there's different birds, right? The birds that we see in the summer, many of them fly south. And so some of the birds that are here now are south of where they normally are, because they usually summer in the extreme North Arctic. So they might be coming into the northern part of Wisconsin, the northern part of Minnesota. And that keeps Art happy. Like, he's my chauffeur. He drives us around. And then I've got binoculars and can be looking for birds, and he can take pictures with his camera, and then we're all happy.
Yep.
He prefers the large birds, like the birds of prey, the hawks and owls, and not the little birds, which sometimes those are the ones that are also unique to the area and traveling. But we have gone around looking for snowy owls before. We've got a couple places in Wisconsin that we like to go look for snowies.
And it opens up a lot of opportunities for my photo work, as far as landscape photography, as far as, you'll see deer, you'll see coyotes, you'll see, the birds. And like she said, I do like photographing owls. I love owls. There's something about owls. So I will personally, I'm not much of a small bird person, although
I keep telling him, like, the big birds are easy, dude. Like, you want to,
they are.
show some skill and stuff. Try to catch one of these birds that are fast and moving all the time.
And I've kind of actually, because I've done it so much, I'm not as big a bird nerd, but now I'm starting, I see birds, I'm like, hey, that's and I know what they are, and I'm like,
the side effect is
crap.
he's learning,
Yes.
more birds.
But the funny part is, and we always laugh about this, is when we go somewhere and she's like, hey, let's go, I'm trying to think of the place up north where the owls are.
The Buena Vista grasslands.
Yeah, like the Buena Vista grasslands and stuff like that. Is when we first drive to these areas, it's like, oh, there must be birds over there, because
you look for vehicles.
Yes, you look for vehicles. However, what are the vehicles that we look for?
Guaranteed. So I would tell you, we're the only Ford F-250 driving around these areas, because it's Subarus and Priuses, Toyota Priuses and Subarus. See, by and large, is what we see at these places. We are kind of the outcast, black sheep. I'm sure we're getting strange looks from people.
Oh, with hunting stickers
with the hunting
on the
stickers
truck
on the back. Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, I did have a ranger stop and talk to me once at Horicon Marsh. I got one of our favorite stomping ground, which is, just like 2 hours away, hour and a half away to go to Horicon. So one of my favorite places to go year round. And I made a trip over there myself one year and did like a overnight. And I was doing this one loop and had pulled off into a little pull off and was just listening to and watching some smaller birds, some songbirds. And here had a park ranger like pull up behind me and get out and come talk to me, wondering what I was doing. And I'm like, I had binoculars in my hand and, had the window down and he saw the stickers on the back of my vehicle at the time. This was years ago even. And he's like, oh, I just saw your hunt stickers and just wanted to make sure you weren't in here hunting. You knew there was
Wow.
no hunting here. Yeah.
Wow, you couldn't do that today,
Talk about a great place to duck hunt, though.
right?
There is no, they manage it for
They did.
waterfowl hunting. So when
They did.
it is open for that later.
So I want to get into waterfowl, shooting some photos of waterfowl. So I talked to Art a couple weeks ago about what lens I need to get, and he's telling me, and we're looking at them online, and I'm looking at the dollar signs, and so I told Kathy about it. Well, yesterday we were driving by the camera company,
Ooh.
and she says, "Why don't we stop in and get your lens today?"
Did you
And
get
I-
a new lens?
Well, I told her, no, I don't want to do it today. Little did she not know, but I called and they don't have one in stock. So we'll definitely be going back.
Awesome,
but
awesome.
kinda
Yeah, so that's
funny.
one thing we do in the off season is we do try to sneak in some little fun trips and art photography trips for Art and fun stuff. And for us, that would be going further north where you might see some different species, and also trying to find open water. So whether that's below the dams on the river, whether that's getting over to Lake Michigan and the Milwaukee area where there's sometimes some snowies there too, and other waterfowl, just any place where there's going to be some open water where you're going to see those waterfowl, or if you're into bald eagle watching, there's eagle watching days
So-
and things.
Did you go with the 150 to 600 sport?
that's what I'm going to get. But I called, they didn't have one. So
Right on.
Cool. Yeah, I just looked at Canon is releasing a new 1200,
oh, wow.
and I looked at that, but that was all I did, because
This your wife would kill you?
if I walked in the house with a $28,000 lens, I think it'd probably be the last time I walked into the house.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side is what the wife doesn't know.
You could
She
dream.
can't kill you for it.
You can dream.
Oh, I dream.
You can dream.
So
It's definitely not a cheap venture to get into photography.
no, depending on what you're doing, and that's a whole nother podcast we can do is on photography work and stuff.
Oh, then we'd never
and
get him to stop talking.
It's that's my passion. I went back, to school and did a 2-year degree on photography work, and it's endless.
Yeah,
But,
because you're not going in to get the all-around lens. I thought that was the thing. No,
No,
not happening.
not at all. So
yeah.
and everything keeps changing. That whole thing keeps changing. So, but again, that'd be something completely different. So, as far as other things really going on right now at this time of year, one of the things that I also like to do to get me outdoors is, I pheasant hunt at a preserve, a hunting preserve in the off season. During regular hunting season, it's pretty hard for me to get out there and pheasant hunt. And
And to be honest, like we don't have any wild birds in Wisconsin any longer.
Right.
Very small populations here and there. And so the state stocks, birds out there at the state lands, but like you said, really too busy
and
during
they're-
that time to
and
get out
they're
there.
so heavily hunted on these public lands, and I kind of I still hunt them once in a great while, but I kind of got a sour taste back 30 some years ago when I was on some public land and some guy shot me and left me there. Was not cool, and had, I think it was upper 20s or low 30s of numbers of BBs that I had to have removed from my body. Not that just, came out, but physically removed. But I still remember as plain as day. I was the only one there with my dog walking through, and 2 guys didn't have a dog. They saw me and they got on some other side of the brush. A bird went up. They unloaded as they swung on it, and I saw it, and I tried to cover up as best as I can, and they weren't more than 35 yards from me. and shot me, and I dropped, and the one guy looked at the other guy and says, "Holy shit, you just shot that guy, let's go." And they left me lay there in the field, so I had a little sour taste in my mouth since then. But
Right.
it happens. It happens to accidents happen, and so whoever it is, they were scared at the time and everything else. Repercussions, forgive them for whatever reasons they did, bailed on me, but it is what it is. Still kind of freaks you out a little bit when you see
Sure
somebody
does.
walking through there and you're going, I don't know that person. Where I kind of like those controlled environments.
Well,
Yeah.
you've had some iffy situations at the game preserve too.
Oh yeah.
The owner was witnessed it too and kicked him out. They're not allowed to come there anymore.
And that-
So it can happen anywhere.
It can.
The nice thing about the private preserves is it does open up, extends the season for us to be able to get out there and pheasant hunt with our dog.
It's about the dog.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's no better way. I had some labs growing up and hunted public hunting, and sometimes I would go 2-3 days without a flush. Well, the dog's looking at you like, what are we doing out here? Where you're guaranteed flushes at a preserve, and so you can do better training with your dogs.
And it also keeps you a little more in tune as far as shooting year round, because usually this time of year, unless you're trap shooting or going somewhere, you're not out, shooting your shotguns and staying up on things. Where this way you have it now, and then you get into turkey season, and then obviously summer, you're not, then more people shoot trap and stuff throughout the summer than they do this time of year, because they don't want to stand outside when it's 5 below zero trying to shoot on a scheduled night. Where this way you can kind of schedule on those nice days and go out and stay up on your shooting skills and keep that dog on their best, if you want to say, behavior, best performances, and keep them performing well.
And it's good for your health to get out and walk around. Also, the meat's very good on a pheasant for you.
It is. So, yeah. I mean, other than that, there's a few little things that you try to do in the off season, and the other thing that when we're not editing and doing all this stuff and not trying to look for birds, Michelle and I really like live music, so we'll go try to find some live music in places when we're birding and stuff, and try to spend a little more, not that we don't spend time together all the time, but time off from work. And
Right.
because hunting is work now, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it is. It's so we sit together in a tree, and sometimes things get a little frustrating. It's
Well, yeah, because you've got the 4 to 7 hour, 8 hour drive to get there, and then we're like, in the tree or blind together. We're in a hotel room or lodge or camp set up, together. So like 24/7, for that period of time. And we know, like, we're blessed to be able to do that, right? We get to do this. It's not a have to do it. We get to do it. But yeah, it's nice to do something that's more purely in recreational, enjoyment.
and not on
not
a time,
attached.
not on a time schedule, and
Yeah.
not did you get that on film, or did you miss this? Did you
Did you press record?
right?
Well, and even like when we went, recently we were able to go and, go visit the girls, out west, because Art hadn't seen their new places, and so we were able to go out there, and, we knew like when we were gonna leave actually changed a little bit because it was gonna be in conjunction with a hunt that got canceled, but we knew when we were gonna leave, when I was gonna take vacation, and when we were gonna be back by, and we had a tentative schedule, of when we were gonna be with each girl and what day we were gonna travel to, to get there. but the girls were wanting to know like what we wanted to do while we were there, and Art was wanting to kind of plan. And I just said, like, I don't want to be that rigid.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
don't want to book ourselves so tight and be that rigid, because we do that so much. We just go, go, go. We had just kind of come off the really busy like fall hunting seasons. That's go, go, go. I said, I don't want that, because this is vacation. We'll do those things, but let's leave some flexibility that this too doesn't become feeling like work. Let's keep it vacation.
And vacations are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the family, and not only family, but friends and stuff, think we're on vacation all the time. Because, you're in this state now. This next week must be nice to be on vacation. Well,
I
no.
get that at work too.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, did you have a nice vacation? Or like my week, I take Friday off to go do the trade show. Like, oh, did you have a nice, 3-day weekend? I'm like, yeah. I worked 10-hour days at the trade show.
We unloaded
And
the
then
vehicle,
drove
we
8
talked to people,
hours
and
home.
we loaded it back
Yeah,
up.
vacation. It's fun because it's different, right? It's
Sure.
different. It's a change of pace.
Yeah.
But definitely not vacation.
Yeah, no, and
So-
neither are the hunts. We're working. We're trying to get footage. We're trying to do things. So we're working. So yeah, when it's vacation, it's nice not to have that. And this, again, the off season, we try to squeeze in a few weekends here and there to go birding.
Well, and the nice thing too, when we travel, sometimes we've done like the out west, ends up being in the winter. And we've also done like, we'll tie it in with a hunt. We did like the Javelina one year that was in February in Arizona. And then we go there, we like took an extra day on the way down to stop at a couple places, or a day and a half to stop and see some things. And then we took our time coming home and kind of had the vacation at the tail end of that. And then the nice thing about doing that is like, we're not fighting crowds, so like we're going to like national parks and areas that are more touristy in nature during their regular season. And, we're not fighting crowds.
Right.
And, places are beautiful. It's a different type of scenery, but, enjoying that in our off season too.
Great time for me to be doing my photo work.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
So are you on vacation or not then?
The only way I get him, the only way.
Truly, I never take vacation. I did this, even when we went out and saw the girls.
You didn't.
part
No,
of it,
the best vacation we've ever done, probably the only 2 times, is we have to get out of the country and off a cell plan,
Oh, there you go.
right?
Yeah.
We're like, when we went to Canada, when we went like camping, took a trip into Canada, and we didn't get the international cell plan. And we went to Mexico years ago for an anniversary, where then we're like off grid kind of stuff. That's the only way that
Okay.
I really get him to turn off. He just won't.
And I'll tell you, speaking of that, so Mexico, people enjoy that. Hats off to you that can sit out there on a beach and do that thing. For me, like the mountains, that's my vacation. I want to go up, and yes, some of it I ruined because I turned it into work and I want to do my photos and all that stuff. But when we were in Mexico, it was like day 4, and I'm like, all right, let's get plane tickets so we can go home early, because I am just not enjoying this. I can only walk out to a beach and sit in a swim up bar pool so long, and that's it. And so it was just dry. I didn't have enough to do. It was driving me crazy. So I wanted to go into Cancun, and I wanted to do this. So we went into Cancun one night, and Michelle gets pickpocketed. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Then we've got another cab driver who's, Michelle can speak Spanish very well. So he's, giving us this
We're getting
runaround
ripped off
crap.
going the long way, right?
And Michelle's like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, basically tell this dude that if he wants to see tomorrow, he's taking us back because,
Right.
and so we ended up back at or wherever we were staying, and they were nice places. It was neat. But to tell you, like how bad things really got for me, because trying to enjoy that type of vacation it was like the last day we're out on the beach, and
We were walking. We were
Yeah,
we were
we're
walking across the beach to find an open chair, you
Right.
know, and to
and so we're going to sit and enjoy the ocean or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can do this one more day. Michelle goes, so what about those 4 ladies? And I'm like, huh? She goes, well, there's 4 ladies laying right back there. You just walk by them and they're all topless. And I'm like, what? How did I miss that?
he's like walking down the beach in a stupor, like he just
All depressed. I wanna
didn't-
get outta
he-
here.
He like did not notice the boobies, so
Wow.
you know it's bad when he didn't
Yeah.
notice boobies.
So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta, it's time to go home. But so yeah, my vacation, I always like to try to tie a little bit of work into it.
Well, you just need to be busy.
Yeah.
It's. I think you could learn to like turn off the work and actually do that. It's a choice, and you don't choose to do it. Granted, and part of it is that the instantaneous nature of our cell phones and text messaging and messaging, and the idea that everybody's available all the time, and that expectation
Yeah.
that people are available certainly doesn't help, and that comes, sometimes it's our partners, our bosses at those companies, have a request or they need something. It could be a Habitat consult customer, or somebody wanting to buy a hunting blind. And people just aren't going to wait,
Right.
So, I mean, part of it's that societal expectation that you're always available.
Yeah. No.
And just, going out of country, is kind of sometimes is the only acceptable excuse
Right.
to not be available.
Well, ever since you guys told us about Banff, that's all I hear now at home.
Oh, you gotta go.
When are we going to Banff? When are we going to Banff?
And that's
So-
the hard part too. Is like we've been twice,
Sure.
and we would go, and the same thing with the mountains, the Utah, Wyoming, Colorado. That there's plenty of places that I haven't seen, states I haven't been to, national parks I haven't seen, sites I haven't seen, but we have some that are our favorites. And so when you want to go back there once in a while too, like there's only so much time and vacation time to see the new stuff when we have some things that we love so much. And Banff is right up there.
Yeah, I think that's our next trip. Banff.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
I'm gonna be going back up there within the next couple of years, and it's got to be done again. Once you go, there's nothing like it. It's the Tetons, everything out west are beautiful. Every state has something different. Utah is absolutely beautiful. Very diverse state. It's very cool. Everything else too. I've been fortunate because of my job and doing this stuff that I've been to all 50 states. I've seen them. I've been pretty much through everything in Canada, and there's still something about Banff Jasper area that just, no matter when you go or what you see, it's mind blowing. You see the pictures and you're like, man, this is beautiful. And
Well, and
you
it looks
get there-
fake. Like you see the pictures and you think that the photos are edited and things are doctored, and it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just how crazy.
Get there and you're
Beautiful.
like, man, it's even prettier than the pictures. It's just breathtaking no matter where. And like I said, out west, there's certain areas like that too, but there's just something different about the Canadian Rockies and it might be the way that you're set in the middle of them there, that no matter where you are, what you look at, it's the mountains. No matter how far you drive, you drive 4 or 5 hours, you're there. So it's cool. Yellowstone, they're absolutely beautiful too. But once you
That's
go
a whole
to
nother
Banff,
podcast. We
yeah,
can
once you go to
talk
Banff,
about some of
it's
the
crazy,
beautiful things
so,
we've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it sounds like we're having a pretty busy off season.
Our off season gets pretty busy,
Yeah.
right? Well, we know art can't sit still, so that's some of it. But yeah, we also get caught up on those other things that
Sure.
we have to put off during
Right.
the quote busy season and do some of those. But definitely next up is those trade shows and our seminars. So come on out and see us. We'd love you to stop by and visit with us. Talk about your hunts this year, and what you had, and show us some pictures. We'd love that. Again, we're going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic in Des Moines, March 7th through 9th. Columbus, Ohio, the 14th to the 16th, and in Wisconsin Dells, Kalahari, March 28th to the 30th. Come on out.
Love to see you.
And with that, we hope you enjoyed hearing what we're doing and maybe picked up some tips for you to own the season in the off season.
Thanks for listening.
Check back weekly for new episodes.